Yo, what the deal is? Yeah, what is up, my friends? Welcome. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to class. Ladies and gentlemen, let me turn this down just a bit. Got turned down just a bit, man. Got too. Is it too early to be savage, or is there an appropriate time to be savage? Maybe. Who knows? But that's not why we're here, guys. We're here for episode 41. Guys, welcome to episode 41. Flick of the Sword. Blind Lemon, what the deal is? Welcome to the chat. Welcome, y'all. Miklos, my guy. Can't wait to see you at the beginning of next month. And welcome to, you guys, welcome to another edition of Steel Mace Flow Education with your neighborhood savage, Leo Savage. That's me. Did I ever tell you guys how I got the name Leo Savage? I'm not going to go too much into it, but when I grew up, I always had nicknames, and none of them were cool. I'm almost there, guys. Almost there. Almost there. We got it? I think we got it. We got it. Yes. I always had nicknames like Skinny, Tiny, and none of them were ever cool. And then one day, a group of men I was training gave me the cool name Savage. They just started calling me Savage, and I was very touched to have earned a cool ass nickname. Because trust me, I was skinny and I was tiny, so I also earned those names. I got some really good news for you guys. The synergy from Australia, Blue Mace, is been a highly discussed topic. I didn't really expect that, but well, I guess as much as I love using this little blue guy, it does make sense. But I've been getting a ton of questions. The number one question on our Q&A, which I didn't answer a whole bunch of, is where the hell do I get one of those mace? I've had people calling Australia left and right trying to get the blue synergy mace, and we weren't really expecting such an outpour for the mace. But either way, somebody, and I wish I had them up. I wish I had their name up, but I think I got it right here. Jason Smith. Man, there's probably about, you know what, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not going to get into it, but there's probably about 20 questions of where the hell do we get the mace. Finally, somebody said, Leo, can you just drop a link to buy the mace? And there's not a link available. However, I talked to Dave in Australia and said, Dave, can I get a link so my people can get the Synergy Mace? And Dave's working on it. He said it should be fairly easy. Dave's out of town right now, but he said in about a week he'll get me a link, and I'm going to share that with you guys here only on YouTube. Only on YouTube. I like it. So anyways, we're going to get you guys a link in case you guys want to get a mace. I did look at selling mace myself, having my own mace made, but there wasn't a big margin for profit, very little margin for profit, big opportunity for mistakes, and I never got into the business. But just to let you guys know what you're going to be looking at when you get the mace, I don't know how much the mace cost, and I don't know how much it costs to ship. But if you live outside of Australia, I'm imagining it's going to be a little expensive to ship. So just before you call or click on a link, expect that. And to everybody who has supported Synergy and trying to get one of their blue mace, I do want to say thank you very much. Dave is a very good friend of mine. And I'd really like to talk about this guy. So when I first was developing Steel Mace Flow, it was on my beautiful hammer here. I guess you probably can't see it too well, but that is a 8-pound hickory-handled American steel sledgehammer. And the thing about a sledgehammer is your hands aren't meant to slide on it; they're meant to stick to it. So I was a little limited on movements. the oblong handle, the not dynamically round shape of the head, definitely led to some interesting moments in training. And it wasn't until I got my hands on the Onnit 10-pound steel mace that I really felt like I had the right equipment. And so steel mace flow was developed on the 40-inch 10-pound mace. And I always wonder what would have happened if I would have got my hands on another mace. Would the steel mace flow curriculum have turned out the same? And I've always thought yes. However, recently I have been creating content, or not creating content, specifically using my Synergy thin, light mace. And I've discovered some techniques that seem to fit this mace better than the other mace. And so the answer is if I had a different mace, the program would look a little different. And so I'm very honored to bring you educations that specifically were designed on the blue mace, but we can still do on our full-size maces that we've purchased over the last years. And today is a really good demonstration of if the shoe fits, dunk a basketball in it. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. It didn't make any sense to me. But today's episode, I'm sure you guys can read the title, Flick of the Sword. Now here in America, we have a saying called flick of the wrist, and it's used all over for different sports, different metaphors. A flick of the wrist can be a punch, can be a basketball shot, it can be the way you throw a ball, and it can also be how you use the mace. And so we're going to shrink our graphic just a little bit. Give me a second. Give me a second, y'all. Just give me 1 second. That's not shrinking the graphic, Leo. That's making it the biggest graphic you can. Okay. Boom. So there it goes. Okay, we got our graphic out of the way. And you know what? I think that's going to be in the way. Let's lift it to the top. I really do try and bring you guys professional grade videos. But it seems like technical difficulties is a quirk that goes along with this channel. Okay, so anyways, let's check out the flick of the wrist technique. And these techniques largely come in part from me just playing with the mace. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my mace in kind of a funky way. I'm going to take my web on my finger, just like this, and I'm going to hold my mace, just like this. I'm going to take the mace head and I'm going to lay it on my forearm. And what I want you to do is or what we're doing right here is we're measuring out how much space we have between the wrist and the bicep. Now, I know my biceps are gigantic, so, you know, if you don't have giant biceps, it's going to be a lot easier for you, but if you have the world's largest biceps like myself, you might need a little bit more room. Also, you'll notice that I'm measuring out at a right angle, two intersecting lines. You've got the first line from pinky to elbow, next line from elbow to shoulder, just like that. And once we've appropriated that much room, I'm just going to make an extra little space here so I have clearance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my mace on my index finger, and I'm just going to teeter the mace head back and forth and make sure I'm not hitting that giant bicep right there. Not only is there a giant bicep right there, the triceratops is also gigantic as well. Okay, enough about my arms, guys. Keep your eyes on the mace. Once I've measured out that swivel or that space, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the mace in that same exact position. Now, this is a short-handled technique, meaning I'm going to be doing the technique on the short side versus the long side. I'm going to take my mace, I'm going to put it behind me just like so, and from here I'm going to bring the mace up and across, and as I'm bringing the mace up and across, I'm going to use the momentum. Not only am I using the momentum, but my hand is in a very balanced place in the mace. I'm going to open my hand and let the mace roll through. Now you can do this on a big mace. It just happens to have been developed on my tiny mace. From here, I'm going to use a little bit of a swing. So I'm going to pull the mace across in an effort to put the top head energy into the tail, just like so. As I've done this technique, and you can just roll the mace across your hip and have a good grip on your mace, just like so. Using my hip for support so my wrist isn't getting too much tension. Boom. All right, let's try it on the other side. We measure out. How's it looking? Giant biceps, beware. There it is. We got the mace, and we bring the mace across using a little bit of momentum. Now, what you'll feel is you'll feel the momentum from the top of the mace, right as it crosses center, pour into the bottom. Once we've done that a bit, we'll switch back over to the other side, just like so. From there, we're going to go back down and behind. Oop, let's measure. Feeling good? I'm going to take the mace across, and I'm going to lift my forearm back up into that right angle. As that right angle, just so you guys can see, everything is looking straight from elbow to knuckle, maybe just a tiny bit down, shoulder to elbows, nice and straight. And then I'm going to put my mace back. Now, as I do that, what's going to happen is you're going to put some torque in your wrist. Now, for me, predominantly, I feel that on the inside of my wrist because, as you can see, the inside of my wrist is locking. And as this force carries over, it tends to lock a little bit more. And so what do we do whenever tension locks in our body? One thing we can do is use it to funnel rotation into another part. Meaning, if I unlock my hand, the mace will go automatically to the other side. And you'll get a transition of the momentum from head to tail to head. And if you've done this enough times, it's just a flick of the wrist. Now, not only are you flicking your wrist, but I knew my camera was going to want to get involved as soon as I did that. However, we are going to do a couple different exercises. One of my favorite exercises to do whenever I learn a move is to implement that technique in reverse. Yes, actually, you did this early on in your practice. You did a 360 one way, and then you said, can I do a 360 the other way? So this is a philosophy that is old as time. I do the flick of the wrist one way, and I do it the opposite way. Now, if you're familiar with the Steel Mace Flow Level 1 education or language, which is available on Ensemble for as low as $2.99, private lessons available one-on-one with Leo Savage for $700, 10 lessons, as well as your Steel Mace Flow certification test, you'll know that this is Landmark 1 and this is Landmark 2. Well, Landmark 2, so to speak, it's a modified Landmark 2 and also a modified Landmark 1. So we're going from a Landmark 1 position into a Landmark 2 position. Now, your imagination is crucial here. You've got a little bit of a technique. I can hear my left side saying, I want to have fun too. Now, what do you do? Well, one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to leave your elbow down here because collision, okay? I'm lucky. One time I hit my funny bone doing this, so I'm happy to have not hit my funny bone. You know, you want to move camera? Go ahead, buddy. Okay, I'm not going to fight against the AI. I'm with it. I like to lift my arm a little high so that way I have clearance. Also, having your arm out of the way, your arm is kind of like a shield. And so, if you don't have your shield up, what happens is the consequence of collision, and the consequence of collision usually teaches you how to decelerate. And so, even though I'm flicking the mace in a sword swing using the handle, being able to not block the mace teaches you how to smoothly land. And now we can start to get creative. We can flick of the wrist from one side to the next. We can drop behind the back, go across, in a little switch of momentum, a little redirection. Oh man, that just sings down, around, and through. You guys want to see it from the side, from the back, across, from the back, across. Now that time I got a little aggressive and I didn't land my hand in the right spot. So what happened was the mace head made contact with my body. I am immune to being hit by the mace by now, but you aren't. So slow down, okay? Or start to use your other hand. We have a ton of techniques that we use the mace in our battle stance. We have battle stance strikes. And so if you look at this horizontal battle strike, which goes from landmark 2 rotated all the way to landmark 2 rotated, we could maybe start to implement that technique into our flick of the sword. Now I'm rotating my body and doing weird stuff with my hand to funnel a little bit more energy, have a little bit more fun, create a little bit more art, and voila. Not only that, but we could start to implement techniques like the Shaolin Zero. Very easy. I'm going to lift, rotate, tuck under. Remember, I'm lifting my arm so I don't hit my elbow. I'm going to decelerate into my body and control underneath the mace. Now remember, your hand is, and this is not a pet peeve of mine, but don't ever let me see you do this ever. Gripping the head of the mace like so is not Shaolin Zero. Blocking the head of the mace with your hand and rotating into the mace is Shaolin Zero. Very easy. Around, relax the wrist, and right into our very beautiful Shaolin Zero. If you want to, we'll go ahead and do our backswing. Pop, 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 pop. Bring the mace across and into, of course, that beautiful Shaolin Zero. What you might have noticed is I stepped away from the technique just a bit and made a little bit more room to fit the Mason. The Mason. I met a guy named Mason. Now, not only can I go to landmark 2, but maybe I could go to landmark 3. Oh, wow. I didn't even know we could do that. Cool. I can't tell you how important it is to play with your mace, to play with your techniques, and introduce, here's another philosophy, introduce your new technique to all your old techniques. That was how steel mace, one of the biggest evolutionary steps steel mace flow took, was you have one move, you learned another move, and introducing those two moves together, one move, two move, three move, one, two, go back. Yeah, all right. So the old flick of the wrist, the old flick of the sword, courtesy today of sheath wear. You guys, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you, okay? If you're not wearing sheath underwear, come on, all right? Do you have Wi-Fi? You do? You have a cordless phone? Yep. But you're still wearing tighty whities? Bro, come on, all right? It's time to evolve your support system. All right, so one more time, guys. Flick of the wrist going from side to side. Flick of the wrist, flick of the sword going into Shaolin. Little backswing. Wow. Does anybody else think I look like Luke from Star Wars? You know what I'm saying? You know, with the blue lightsaber. Blum, 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 blum. I really wasn't going to speak on this today, but I think it's important. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to take a little moment here to speak to my people. And when I first created Steel Mace Flow, it was for my mental health. And I don't want to dive too much into it, but Still Mace Flow, the practice, definitely came before Still Mace Flow, the business. Still Mace Flow, the business was created so I could help other people in their journey. Not that Still Mace Flow is a direct key or assist to your mental health, but it can be. For me, in my experience, I found that it was incredibly hard to be depressed when I created beautiful movement. In training with Steel Mace, one of the biggest things for me was getting away from the how much do you lift, bro? Conversation. I think I talked about that recently. And so, if the goal of if your goal happens to be you want to create beautiful movement to help yourself feel better, don't limit yourself on the style of mace you're using, or for that much, the weight of the mace that you're using. This is your journey, and it's important for me that you take the necessary steps for you. Still Mace Flow wasn't created so you could be a replica of me. Now, I do love seeing my students wear short shorts because their quads got so big, or swinging to flow like grand conductors of emotional orchestras, an orchestra of emotion, like I have. The object is definitely not to do impersonations of your coach. The object of the practice is for you to connect with yourself and battle your emotions or uplift your emotions. And so, guys, that is the lesson for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And so happy to be back. I had a rough weekend, had a little bit of some stuff go on. And so it does bring me great joy to have some people show up to my classroom today. I can't thank you guys enough for I'm working on thanking you guys enough for all of your support. And I'm directly after this, I will be jumping on to the Ensemble platform for a one-on-one lesson with one of my students. Very excited to meet another international student. And I can't wait to train you. If you guys are looking for lessons, make sure you go to Somble, SOMBLE.com/Still Mace Flow. I'm still looking for 5 more students to book into my books. I train between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you're looking for a custom booking somewhere outside of that, just send me a message and I'd be happy to help you. Best way to get a hold of me is to comment on these videos or reach out to me in my Still Mace Flow account on Instagram. Guys, thank you so much for being here. That is all she wrote. Hope you have a very positive day. Take care.